Sniper Elite 5 has been out for almost a month now, and it has been pretty successful in its launch. Overall, it has mostly positive on Steam, and I think the general reception is rather good. It brings in some really nice stealth mechanics, but doesn't necessarily change the series all that much. I think that's mainly been the biggest criticism of the title so far. Yet, I wanted to talk a little bit about the new DLC. The Killing Hitler DLC is a mainstay of the Sniper Elite series. Whilst they don't put it in the main game, I guess they added it in as a DLC for whatever reason. But this time it feels a little bit disappointing. It's £5 extra, which, you know, isn't an insignificant amount of money if you're playing for just one mission. And just one mission is what it is. So why have they charged this extra bit of money for another level within the game that could have just been within the base game itself and already £45? However, there is an upside to this. If you did actually pre-order the game, you would get the DLC as far as I know. Yet the mission itself is called Wolf Mountain. And of course, this is based on killing the Führer. It was a part of the other Sniper Elite games, most notably Sniper Elite 4. However, this time there is a lot more you can do in terms of taking out the big mustachioed boys. And after all, much like the Karl, if you kill Hitler, you become Hitler. So the mission starts you off, of course, in the mountains where Hitler's base is. As you move through, there'll be different sections, much like many of the other maps. But this is where the first issue starts to come in. You see, this mission, whilst being paid for and technically being the same price as all the missions if you cut up the 9 missions into £5 segments as what the game is worth, it is way shorter. All you have to do is see Hitler and kill him. There are many different ways you can do it, so it does add some replayability to the mission, yet with a lack of objectives compared to many other Sniper Elite 5 maps, you're going to be running through this pretty fast. So as you move through, you start by seeing a small shack guarded by a tower. There are a couple guys up there. If you've got a co-op partner, you can take them down together, but you've also got to find some documents and some important things in the Sniper Elite franchise within it. However, this is the last mission, so in terms of story, it's not going to be carrying on any of this stuff to a later mission further on. Map design isn't all that great. It looks good, but that's about it. As I've said, you move through it so fast and it feels way more linear than any of the other Sniper Elite missions. I mean, there were some of the later ones in the Sniper Elite 5 game where you would be in this ruined town and there'd be so many different directions you could take, different points that you had to get to, and you know where each defensive position was. Maybe you get spotted at one area and you're able to then move round and run, hide again, and then take it from a different direction or go to a completely new objective. That isn't possible within this mission. Wolf Mountain is so linear that it means that if you mess up, you've kind of got to just fight your way out of it, and it ends up being an ever-long skirmish. By the way, if you want to see the full gameplay that's on screen now, it will be on my FPS channel in its full beautiful glory. This linear approach wouldn't be all that much of a problem for a different type of stealth game like a Hitman 3. Hitman, ironically, has bigger and wider open maps than this, yet for a Sniper Elite game, having a map that is about 100 meter wide means that you're very limited in terms of the actual sniping you can do. There is so much in terms of foliage that you can sneak around, so it's obviously the developers intended you to do most of this in melee and not actually take a lot of time to go for those long-range sniper kills, because I mean, it's not that possible. The maps are so narrow, almost in the shape of a tunnel, and in terms of length, there's so much blocking it. It's so winding as well, limiting the range that you can actually see and the enemies that you can take that chance to shoot at. Moving through the map, you're going to be following this main road. Of course, there's going to be trucks and enemies coming up at all times. They're going to be finding bodies, so make sure you're careful to hide them if you want to stay the stealthy way, or you could do what I did and just get yourself caught. You'll then find your way going down into a quarry, which is very heavily defended, and you're going to end up being spotted if you're not careful there. Moving through a tunnel, you finally get to where this chateau is, and it looks goddamn beautiful. Don't get me wrong. Whilst I do have a lot of criticisms for this paid DLC, this is probably the weakest map, but it's also one of the best looking. And then you get the notification that Hitler is in his house, and on top of the hill it looks goddamn beautiful. It is plastered in enemies and guards that you're going to have to sneak around. But this is where it kind of redeems itself a little bit for me. The amount of options you have for killing this guy is just plain fun. And I really think that that's what they've tried to lean into. Rebellion know that this is kind of a joke DLC. So they basically made any way possible to kill this guy in the most embarrassing and humiliating way, which I think is really funny. And I think some of them are quite interesting. I mean, for example, one of them is you can put a mine on a bowling alley. So when he goes to bowl, the ball hits the mine and it shoots a bowling pin into his face. Who doesn't want to do that? You can also do the basics like poisoning him, pushing a car into him while he sits on a bench, or do what we did and get spotted and end up having to stab him because Hitler starts chasing you down. That, by the way, is one of the most terrifying concepts ever. Being within Hitler's mansion, being hunted by the Fuhrer himself. I have heard of some issues with this, however, because whilst they've added this new element of different ways to kill this guy by setting traps, the AI in Sniper Elite is famously bad, and it seems like it isn't any different here. Sometimes you'll poison his food, but he will never go to eat it. Sometimes you'll rig up a bomb within one of his favorite books, but he'll never go to read it and just stay in a single room, and you end up having to resort to stabbing him in the usual way anyway. There's another kind of weird aspect to this, is that they're cool, all these traps, but they're not great. Meaning that they look a little bit cheesy, and it can sometimes feel a little bit like a knockoff Hitman, but of course not done in the same way. And if this mission was a part of the base game, I think for a number of reasons it would be way more accepted. This DLC, by the way, whilst the main games are mostly positive, is on mixed reviews, and for these very reasons. One, you have to pay for an extra map. You have to pay for the weakest of the maps, the smallest of the maps, the buggiest of the maps, and the least sniping of the maps in a game called Sniper Elite. I think it is a lot of fun, and you can tell the developers are doing this as sort of a yearly joke now with their releases, yet they've kind of been a bit lazy with this one. Sniper Elite 4 actually had quite a lot to offer in their Killing Hitler DLC, and it was quite wide and big, and the map was just as exciting as all the other Sniper Elite 4 maps, but 5 really seems quite rushed, and I think that's been very clear with the fact that this came out on the same day that Sniper Elite 5 came out, and it shows how rushed it came out. Should they have left it a bit longer? Of course they should. Then maybe release it as a paid DLC, and people might have been happy with maybe a bigger map and, of course, much more to do in terms of sniping and less bugs. But I think that kind of goes against the main point I'm trying to make here. This shouldn't be paid. This is a small extra add-on to the game that should just come with the title itself as almost its own little game mode. We already have the 9 missions, which are a lot of fun. Well, except from the last one, which is useless. So we have about 8 missions that are a lot of fun. And there is a lot of content there. I think Sniper Elite 5 has some of the biggest maps within the Sniper Elite series, and some of the most expansive in terms of the options you have when you're trying to face them. However, this DLC goes completely against what the rest of the game offers. I think there's enough content in the total to warrant its £45 price tag, but there isn't enough content in this DLC to warrant its own price tag separate from the main game. And I genuinely think this is the main reason people are kind of annoyed and angry at this mission. But let me know what you think. If you haven't already, go and check out the FPS channel and you can see the full playthrough that I do of this, well, Killing Hitler target. But until then, I will see you in the next one.